To defeat an enemy, you must know them, not simply their battle tactics, but their history, philosophy, and art.
That was an intro.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Thrawn-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And we are back with week 2, part 2 of Thrawn Ascendency Trilogy book talk. So,
Yeah.
we're here. Yep.
We're back.
So, if you missed last week, we talked about the world building of the Ascendancy. And so we talked about Skywalkers and the chaos and navigators and family stuff and politics and all that jazz. And so we figured, we're talking about 3 books here. It would be hard to talk about it and then not talk about all the world building stuff. So we kind of split it up. So world building stuff last week, but now this week we're actually going to talk about
spoilers,
the plot specifically of each book, and kind of just some overview of stuff and talk about some characters and stuff, because we're going to do 3 books in one recording. So we're not going to go super in depth on each book. We're just going to go over some primary plot points and some new character, or actually they're all new to me, but characters that we're introduced to, and just kind of talk about those, just keep things an overview. And so we're going to skip over a lot of minor plot points and other plot points that you might be hoping we're going to be discussing. But if you are in the chat and on Twitch, you can maybe bring up some topics that we don't talk about or something like that, and we'll maybe answer those questions. But yes, before we get started, we should say last week we got a Bad Batch trailer for season 2. And some of you were hoping that we were going to do a deep dive tonight, but we're going to do that on Sunday, the 18th in the evening.
That's when it'll be live.
That's when we'll be doing recording for that. Sunday night, the 18th. We are not going to be doing our normal Tuesday on the 20th, just because the holiday season and work will be busy for me, and I don't know if I can get out of work in time to record. So if you hear this episode by Sunday, tune into that. And looking a little bit further to the week after that, on the 27th, we're thinking of doing an Ask Us Anything episode just for fun. And so
for giggles and fun.
Yes, so we'll kind of talk about more details on the Bad Batch trailer stuff and how we're going to do that. We're not going to have a 4-hour episode like we did last year when we did Ask Us Anything for Christmas. We're going to try and make it a little bit simpler so we're not here for 4 hours, because that's a lot of work. So
yeah,
if you have some random good questions, keep them.
Yeah. I feel like also it's not going to take as long because there's only 2 of us.
That is true. So, but we'll keep you posted on that. It'll probably be primarily a Discord thing, just for the questions for that, because we'll put up a chat channel in there.
Or voicemails.
And people can submit their voicemails too. But we'll probably do something in the Discord for people to ask random questions for us to kind of bullet boom, boom, boom through for a couple hours. So
yes,
look forward to that.
But also that is a good time to send your first voicemail if you guys haven't too.
Right.
Because it's a good time to do that. So.
Yep. And then the week after that will be Bad Batch season 2. And so we'll be doing that for it's 16 episodes over the span of 13 or 14 weeks because there's going to be 3 weeks where they double up on episodes. So
Yes.
keep in mind for that. And so there's going to be a lot of Bad Batch stuff, but that's just a few weeks out. And
so make sure you guys catch up if you guys haven't caught up with Bad Batch. Go watch season 1 right now. Go binge it over the holiday weekend.
yeah.
And, yeah.
And there was a Jedi Survivor trailer gameplay thing. We're not going to deep dive into that or go over that. It's kind of there's some simple stuff. Nothing too crazy, but
yeah, there's like a lot of breakdowns of it I've seen online, but even the breakdowns I've seen, I'm like, okay, like I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't really get much out of that trailer thing, so
yeah,
we're not gonna really spend time on that.
Did we know the date? Have they told us?
It's like March 16th or 19th or something.
Like actually gonna come out.
Yeah, so I
delayed a year or anything. Like
I
that.
gotta get a PlayStation 5.
Yes, you do.
They probably won't have any anymore for the next like 6 months because of Christmas.
Yeah, good. Actually, I saw one yesterday at Walmart.
Like in a display case?
They had like 4.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I didn't think about. I was just like, oh look, this.
Yeah, you could have bought it for me for Christmas, Drew. Come on.
That was so funny.
That sounds like a yes in Tuscanese or whatever, but anyway.
But yes,
we're here for Thrawn. And so I read it for the first time, the Ascendency Trilogy. Drew has now read through it twice because he listened to the audiobook when it first came out, and then he re-listened to it. So,
well, actually, I read it with the audiobook when it first came out, and then I just listened to it.
Oh, even better. And
I've even watched breakdown videos to make sure I knew what I was talking about. And I still feel like I'm not going to. Because those books are like I said, I listened to them like the first one a few years back. And so like re-listening to them at work while I'm doing things, there's times I'm just thinking about one thing and all of a sudden I'm 2 chapters in and I'm like, what the heck did I just miss? So
yeah.
So if we get things wrong, it's 3 books to break down in one episode is a lot. So bear with us.
Yeah.
And you know what? Spam those comment sections and tell us what we did wrong. That's fine. As long as you give the video and you give us 5-star reviews. We don't care. Just go ahead.
But yes.
Have us go trending and stuff.
Now, Drew.
Yes.
What would you say are your overall thoughts of the Ascendency trilogy?
I like it. I don't like it near as much as the original one. Like the original Thrawn books,
the canon one,
the original canon ones.
Right.
We're not talking about the non-canon ones,
right.
which are actually really good, but unfortunately, those aren't for us anymore. But yes, the original canon ones I liked. I like that because it has to do with the same world that we're more familiar with, and like the Empire and like Jedi's and Palps. Like I don't know, that timeline that they put he puts those original 3 that he did is really good, and this prequel trilogy is really good, but it's not. It feels separated from Star Wars in the like of some situations. So I think that's the only reason why. Like it's just a little bit harder to understand at some points because it isn't in the same world or the galaxy that we're normally used to. So I feel like that's the only reason why. Like if they came out with like a movie that was in outer space or whatever, or in
the chaos,
like if they came out with a movie that had to do with Thrawn or like someone in these book series in that timeline, I would probably enjoy them a lot more because visually I'd be able to see that part besides just that little clip in Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker wasn't really
for enough. The chaos, yeah.
So that's my only thing. But overall, like Timothy Zahn is amazing. So the books that he does is really, really good. And so, yeah.
Cool.
What about you? What's your overall?
So going into this, I had like no idea about anything about the plot. All I knew it took place before the original trilogy, and it was kind of like where Thrawn came from, obviously, because it's from his home place of the Chiss Ascendency. I was like, okay, that's all I know, but I had no idea anything about the plot, no character names. I didn't know anything, so I didn't know what to expect. All I knew was Thrawn from Rebels, and so like I love Thrawn. One of our I think it was our first like real episode that we did as Empire Radio. We did our top 5 characters, and I put Thrawn in my top 5 characters just based on Rebels alone because I really loved his character. And so I was like, okay, everyone says these books are amazing. Like all 6 books are amazing, and these 3, I was like, people were like thought it was really good too. And I was like, okay, what's gonna happen? And then I had like back in the day when we had the VCU going on, like Lucy would name drop some people and like things from the Thrawn books, and I was like, now I'm getting hyped about like this Thrawn stuff. Now I got to read them. So it was cool to see like some of the characters and whatnot that Lucy mentioned in the VCU. And so that's all I kind of had. So going into like, okay, I'm excited. Let's see what's all about. And so I kind of like you. I really like the freshness of it because it's completely like separate from the rest of Star Wars. So it was. I really enjoyed learning like the culture and learning about how different things are. And we kind of talked about last week about how they have like primitive technology. They're not as advanced, and because of that, it affects their battle tactics and how they travel. And I was like, this is all really cool, interesting stuff. And I would say that overall, I really liked the plot, the overall plot. Well, I will get into like when we get into. I thought the second book was my least favorite of the 3. And we'll get into that. But looking at like I probably like the first book the most, even though I probably remember the least amount from it.
Well, I mean, because that's just so far back.
So far back, but like I feel like the second book and the third book had much more simpler plot, whereas the first book there was like I'm getting like learning about all this new stuff.
It's a lot to take in.
Then there's like it's a lot to take in, and it's like trying to figure out like how everything works and stuff. But overall, I think I really like the storyline. There's like I said, I think I said it last week. I wish I saw all this stuff like in movie or TV form because it's just something
that's
visually
like,
different that I wish I could see.
That's like my only thing that I feel like I would enjoy them even more if we were able to see it in some form of art.
Right. And
some other art form besides written.
Yeah.
I wonder, they should make like maybe like a comic book series on it. Even that would like satisfy some of the visual.
It would be cool to see like the visuals. Just kind of like if the space battles looked the
Like
way I imagined it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So
what made you really want to like actually do these books? Like just the Thrawn character itself?
Well, it's because
if you guys are new, you guys don't know, Jeremiah hasn't really read a book since what, high school?
Well, I've read since high school. I haven't read any novels except for 4 books going into the Thrawn trilogy, which were Star Wars books. The adult novels for the Phase 1 of the High Republic, and then the Ahsoka novel. So those 4, and then I've read these 3.
But prior to that, it's been like a long time, and we kind of had to even pull you along to start those ones. So
right. But the reason I was so invested in wanting to do the Thrawn books is because I want to understand Thrawn in the Ahsoka series better. Because we're gonna get Thrawn in live action, and what he's doing out there is going to be strongly probably
what I'm
related
thinking
to
about?
what
We'll
all the
probably
books.
we might see some of Lesser Space in the Ahsoka show.
I think we will. I think we're going to see the Chiss Ascendancy in the Ahsoka thing, but there's also rumors for the. Okay, now we're going on a tangent, but there's also rumors that in the Ahsoka show, we're going to revisit the world between worlds from Rebels. So that could open the door to anything. So like, I have no idea what that could be.
It could open up the door to get Maul back somehow.
But yeah, so like, I want to have all the knowledge I can on Thrawn going into the Ahsoka show, which is sometime next year. So I'm like, I haven't read the next trilogy yet, and so we'll probably have to do that in, after what do you call it, Mando season 3. So maybe starting in February or something, I'll start doing the audiobooks and reading the physical book for the second trilogy just to get all caught up. But like, I just want to understand Thrawn more because of he's in live action in Ahsoka thing, and I just don't want to miss any points because we'll be doing deep dives on that, and I don't want to be left out on stuff about Thrawn.
Yeah,
so
I don't think we're gonna get any more like Thrawn hints in Mando season 3, but I guess it's possible.
It's possible.
Like, it's possible that we could see like some like Ahsoka interaction.
Right, because the one theory I know that we haven't heard a lot of it, but I know Andrew stated that he thinks that what they call the Filoniverse, or how all these shows are going to intertwine. Mando, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and if they bring in any other shows, they're going to fight like the Attack of the Grisk or something like that. Like, the Grisk are going to come back either into the main galaxy or in the Ascendancy, which I can't really speak on because I know that the Grisk are part of the next trilogy, and so it's like I don't want to be spoiled on that, so we can't go into that much. But
kind of,
I know that there's the theory that the Grisk could be a primary galactic enemy coming up in the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's not as prominent as you would hope, honestly, in the next trilogy.
Right, but I know that at the end of this trilogy, Jixis does threaten that they're gonna come back again for the Ascendancy. So
yes,
like, I don't know if that happens in the next trilogy or not. Don't spoil it, or if it's something that has yet to be written down. But it'll be cool to see the Grisk as like a galactic enemy. Yeah. Like, because we see the Separatists in the Clone Wars, and we see the Empire. Like, there's that, and then like in the High Republic stuff, we see the Nihil, which was like, seeing the Nihil stuff was refreshing, like a new enemy that's not related to the Sith or something.
The Nihil stuff is so good. I think they did the development of those characters and like those enemies were really well done, I think.
Right. So they see a galactic enemy that's not related to the Empire or the Sith or anything would be really refreshing. I think that'd be cool if they do that in this time frame and maybe we'll see Luke in his prime, like coming and like this killing Grisk and all that stuff. I don't know. See Ahsoka and Luke fighting Grisk, like that'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
But yeah. So overall, I like the plot, the storyline of the Chiss Ascendancy or Thrawn Ascendancy, which I feel like they should have called it the Chiss Ascendancy rather than the Thrawn Ascendancy, because there's a lot of Thrawn in the first book, but in the second book, there was barely any Thrawn. And then and then there's so much stuff going on in the third book that's like Thrawn wasn't even like a primary character at times, it seems like. So I guess that's the one negative, was that I thought there was going to be more Thrawn in Thrawn Ascendancy. But
yeah, they're honestly like, this whole series is them building up the universe around where he's coming from.
Right.
And the other books are like heavily Thrawn.
Right.
not heavily Ascendency. So like
Right.
they're trying to. I think what Timothy was trying to do was trying to tie both books together in the sense of like he's referencing a lot of the Ascendency and where he's from in the original or like the sequel books that came out first, and people were asking questions, and then he was able to go back and answer a lot of people's questions, and then they tie better. I honestly like haven't read them in order, and I
Right.
probably now that I'm read all three again, I should probably go and do that because now it's going to answer more questions I probably had and I forgot I had them.
Right.
So
yeah. So let's get into some book by book discussion. And like I said, we're going to do some super high overall point, like main points. We're going to gloss over a lot of things just for time. Because if we try to do deep dives on like every little thing in each book, this would be like a 6-hour podcast, and we can't do that. So
correct.
So
And real quick, Will did have a good point. Book 2, Thrawn was pretty busy.
well, we didn't see him be busy.
Yeah, but
we just knew he was doing stuff.
But in another book, you find out what he was doing.
Right.
So,
like I said, we'll go over some main points, and then we'll have like specific characters that come up that we'll talk about. Just because
you don't
there's
have a slideshow ready?
No, I don't have a PowerPoint for this. Sorry,
man,
I don't got time for that. I'm busy at work. I don't got time to do stuff.
Excuses, cutting meat,
Something like that. All right, so book 1 is called Chaos Rising, and so the book starts out with there's refugee ships that are found, and so then they're all dead on these ships, and so they're alien refugee ships, and they're like, what is going on? Why are they just floating in space? Like, where did they come from? And this prompts the Chiss to start investigations. And so Thrawn kind of heads that up and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is what they're going to investigate what's going on because Thrawn is part of the expansionary defense fleet, which is to protect the Ascendency from outside threats. And so if this is some evil people out there killing these people, like they need to be aware of what's going on and see who's doing what just so they can protect themselves. And so this is why they do the investigation. And when this happens, Thalius, who is a former Skywalker who chose to become a myth so that she could be in proximity to Thrawn because of years prior, she met Thrawn, and Thrawn had some words of wisdom that really changed her life, and so she wanted to be closer to Thrawn just because she admired him so much. So she applied to be on Thrawn's ship, and immediately she's kind of denied, but a gentleman named Thurfian pulls some strings and gets her on, and we learn that the reason that he wants her on there is so that she can spy on Thrawn. We kind of learn that throughout the trilogy, but she's supposed to kind of report back to Thurfian about whether or not Thrawn is a threat to the Ascendancy's health and all that jazz. But that's how Thalius gets on, and she becomes a caretaker of Cheery the Skywalker. And so a lot of this book revolves around those three characters. There's a lot in there. So it's fun learning about them. And so through this investigation, they find where they believe that, I don't think it was one or maybe both, I can't remember, but at least one of where the refugee ships came from, and it was a very difficult, like the worst place in the Ascendency to navigate. It was a very hard to find planet, but they go in there and they learn about the true enemies that this book is about. Is called the Nicardoon, and so that's the enemies. So, what do you think about that, Drew? The Nicardoon as enemies in this
In
book.
the first book,
Yeah.
I liked how they played a lot of political mind games with them. I thought that was pretty good.
Right. Because,
And
yeah, go ahead.
no, like I just liked how they went about those characters, like how Timothy Thrawn went about those characters. I really liked that aspect of it. Honestly, I liked the development of what's her name?
Which one? Who?
The girl that you were just talking about.
Thalius?
Thalius, yes, that's her name. Yeah, I liked her development of her story because, like, in the beginning, they go through like her on the ship as she's no longer a Skywalker. Thrawn's on that ship, but he's not as higher up in rank yet.
Right.
And then he gives her that wisdom, and you see all this, and then she leaves, and then like she's watching Thrawn develop as a like as he goes higher up in rank. She's watching this from a distance essentially.
Yeah.
And she tries at a certain point to get, and then she also, we didn't mention this, but she became a myth because when you're no longer a Skywalker, you can get adopted into a family, and she chose the myth family because of Thrawn. So
Right.
that was like another big point that she was adopted into that family, and she figured out how to get on the ship. Essentially, it was a really cool development of a character, and you learn it really quickly, and you kind of it's a lot of like political family stuff right away, but I think by them using her character to explain it, I thought it was really well done.
Right. And so, yeah, so Thalius, like, she's a character that, I don't know, I kind of have mixed feelings about her because, like, she kind of puts on this facade that she's always on Thrawn's side, but, like, there's also times where seems like she's not sure who to believe because she's on this kind of mission to, like, spy on him. But I don't know. It was kind of, I don't really know if I like,
Trust her.
like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain because
I think it's one of those things where it's a character development where she's realizing that Thrawn isn't this perfect person that she envisions him to be.
but no, well, maybe. But it was kind of like, maybe it was, in the first book, you expect her to be weary of, this mission that she was put on, and Thrawn is putting kind of her and Chewie in danger a lot, and like, yeah, okay, you're gonna understand that she's gonna be really confused on what to think or believe. But I feel like that was how she was through the whole trilogy, which didn't make sense to me. I thought, like, by the end of the first book, she should have been fully on Thrawn's side and was like, screw Thurfian. Now she does kind of. I think it's the second book, or maybe is it the first book? I can't remember. They're all blends together. But when she leaves to go to the myth homeworld and become a trial born or whatever, to become like, because if you're like, like, she could technically be kicked out of the myth family, but she made sure that she could do what she needed to do to go up in rank.
Second book.
I think that's the second book. But, like, she makes sure that Thurfian can't screw her over by kicking her out,
back, essentially.
because Thurfian is one of the higher ranking myth family members, and he could pull strings and have her removed from the myth. So she goes behind his back and becomes a high enough status where she can't be removed from the family. So, like, I really like that she was, that strong and independent, where she could see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like her character it develops where she seems like in the beginning as a character she's very dependent on her identity through Thrawn, but throughout these books she becomes her own person and her own invisible person. And I feel like for Timothy Zahn, the writer, to separate that, he had to make it so that she wasn't 100%. Like, she had to be a little bit of weary of Thrawn throughout the whole trilogy.
Right.
Or just honestly higher up people in general. She kind of gets weary of anyone very high up. She doesn't really trust any of them
Right.
as much.
And because I was thinking, okay, she's gonna do this whole trial thing where she gets high status in the myth, or high enough status in the family where she can't be removed. I was like, okay, once this happens, then she's gonna be like tell Thrawn everything, like what her mission was and how she's gonna stay faithful to him. But that didn't happen really. So
No. I
like,
think she, throughout that, I think she sees things that she doesn't love about Thrawn.
right,
Like,
because she's always running into danger and she has to follow basically.
yeah, and I think there's certain things that she like doesn't understand, because there's a lot of times throughout Thrawn's war taxes that he tells people enough, but not all of it. So a lot of
Oh
times,
yeah,
even the
that's
people that he's working with are on edge, and they think it's gonna go one way, and he's like, no, it's this, and then it goes a different way, and it's risky and scary. But then Thrawn knew that was gonna go that way the entire time, but he doesn't tell everyone, including the people. He's very sneaky, and I think there's certain times throughout these books that she doesn't like that. It's not dishonest. It's just not telling the full truth,
well, like,
kind of stuff.
right, but like in the first book alone, Thrawn puts her in so much danger. Like when they find where the refugee ship came from, they go to like a mining station where they meet
Yeah,
the Pakash from the planet Rapak. And
say that 5 times.
no, but like I really like that scene where they enter in, and because Thrawn made the conclusion that this alien species puts females in higher regard, like it's more of a matriarchal society or something like that.
Yeah.
And so he makes it look like she's leading him, and like, but they're going like in a space station or mining station, not knowing what's there. Like it's just the two of them. They could get killed easily.
Yeah.
But she's there, and I really like that scene just because of it was like the first time we see Thrawn with his what's the word?
Strategy.
Strategic ability. That's the word. I was like,
That
strategic ability, where he protects himself from the front by putting her in front because they're not going to shoot. But then like they kind of take jab at Thrawn, like he's in the back, like cowering, like putting a woman in to protect him. But he's like, no, because I know that if someone comes from behind, I have to protect her. And so it was just interesting.
It's a little sneaky.
I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Like this is a good plan. And
but as someone that's with Thrawn, wouldn't you want to know what the plan is?
right, and maybe he did tell her, just that we didn't see that just because.
I don't know. I think that's how his character, like in the other books, there's other sneaky things that he does with
Right,
other people.
But
And even
Thalius
with the
knew.
Empire, like there's times like throughout those other books too where he'll get into like a battle fight, or he'll get into a fight, and then he'll know that this one character is gonna end up flying into another character or something. He already called it, but the whole time, like everyone on deck is like, "Oh, what's gonna happen?"
Well,
This is how his character is. He's
but-
like always. I think his character is like that because he's always a couple steps ahead. Like I always view Thrawn as like a chess player, right? He's playing chess, and the best way to play chess is if you're like 3 or 4 steps ahead of what you're actually playing in the moment. And I think that's how he is with everything, including conversations. And there's a lot of times throughout these books is he's talking, and then you get a voice of him talking in his head and going through that. And so like he's always a couple of steps ahead, and with that it's hard for him to, I don't even know if it's sneaky. I think it's actually hard for him to translate what's going on because he forgets to tell people because he's so far ahead that he just doesn't even tell people what's going on. It could be that.
I don't know. Well, but I think Thalius did know that Thrawn believed that they were a matriarchal culture.
Yeah, but she didn't.
But so like part of me thinks that he told her more than the book tells us at that point. Obviously they were talking like on their way, like they were talking and had conversations and stuff that we never heard.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know. But yes, so the Pakash people, they become kind of like allies with Thrawn, because the Pakash were enslaved by the Nicardun, and specifically Yiv the Benevolent, which is the main enemy, the leader of the Nicardun, and so they believe that Thrawn can help them in some way. So they become allies through the whole trilogy, which I thought was good to see them. And so, but yes, Yiv the Benevolent. So I'm going in. I thought that the Nicardun were going to be the enemies for all 3 books, but that's not true. It was just the first book, which was interesting. And so we did mention Yiv the Benevolent, which is the main guy, and he's like a really smart guy like Thrawn. And my favorite scene in this book was when Yiv and Thrawn meet at like some gala thing, whatever they call it. But they meet because like they go because he's I forget what planet they're on. Is it the Vax, I think. And so I think it was the Vax because they have that tapestry that they were.
Yep. I think you're right.
And so it was interesting how, because okay, we'll talk about Keylori a little bit more, but Keylori, he basically introduces them together, and so like it was a very tense scene because they know who the other person is, but like it's like a public thing. It's a big event, so like they can't start like killing each other or fighting or whatever. So it's like them just talking, and they start talking about art and talk about that tapestry and all that jazz. And it was just a very calm conversation, but like it was very tense. And then afterwards, I think it was Keylori was talking to Yiv and they're talking about what just happened. And I think it was Yiv said like that conversation was combat. Like we were battling and fighting in that thing because they're trying to understand each other and to really see who this person is, because they know that the other person is their enemy, like their primary enemy. And so I really like that scene. It was really cool. And what was interesting though was how Thrawn seeks to mislead Yiv by doing the family hostage thing, where here once again Thalius is brought on this mission with Thrawn, and so Thalius is pretending to be like a family slave hostage thing where like she is just a slave to Thrawn, and they put all this like makeup on that looks terrible and blah blah blah, and like this is cool how Thrawn chose to give false information to like somehow like mess up Yiv's plans against the Chiss, like to give new information that's not correct. And so
Yeah.
That was cool. But another major thing in this first book was just the politics of all the different alien groups, because Yiv and the Nicardoon are trying to take over alien worlds or convince them to join the Nicardoon. And Thrawn, while he's investigating, is interacting with these people as well. And it's like the complexity of things. And so we learn that Thrawn is terrible with politics. Like he's good with military strategy, but when it comes to politics, he just doesn't get it. And so like I really like that aspect of them showing Thrawn's weakness, because one thing. Okay, here's another thing that I kind of didn't like. I wish we saw Thrawn fail in a military battle or fail. Like he failed in politics and relations with alien groups and policy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I wish we saw him like fail in a mission. Like I don't think we saw like him fail in that. And I was like, he's kind of a little Marty Stew. Like, you know, Mary Sue is like the female. Like Marty Stew is the male version where he's just like perfect in all that stuff and he doesn't fail at all.
We don't really see him fail much in these throughout any of the Thrawn books.
Right.
The most time we see him fail is in Rebels.
And that wasn't even his fault. That's because that schmuck officer took his own ship, like, and was like, "I'm going to show Thrawn," and Thrawn, like,
so yeah, he doesn't.
But okay, but seeing how well Thrawn can do military strategy, like on the fly, like in the middle, but he can analyze things and change on a dime, like. And with like their primitive technology, he was able to do that. So like in Rebels, in that season 3 finale where we see him take on the Rebel fleet, or like that specific fleet, like it was kind of like looking back at Rebels, it was kind of underwhelming because like I felt like he could have done way more than he did after reading this book. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It is what it is. So it's like Thrawn was a better military threat than I thought he was. And so seeing him in Rebels, like, yes, he's still super OP as a military threat, but it wasn't as strong as I thought he could have been with the advanced technology that he was given. But maybe I gotta watch that battle again in Rebels just to see.
Yeah, I probably should too. It's been a while. It's been a long time.
Right. And so it was cool. It's like looking at all these alien groups and seeing like what their choices are, who's aligned with the Nicardoon, who's not, who's lying, all that jazz. And it's like you just didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so we did kind of start talking about this a little bit, but something that's going on in this book and in all the books is Thurfian and Zistalmu wanting to take down Thrawn. They see Thrawn as reckless and a threat to the future of the Ascendency, because he always, because of his intellect and seeing threats and making sure things are safe, like he gets his head in deep water sometimes where he does things that bends the rules and manipulates policy basically and finds loopholes, and they see this as a threat. And it's like, I understand where they're coming from. He can seem reckless, but like it was because you're on Thrawn's side. Like these are kind of like a minor antagonist, bad guy, evil people. Like they're trying to take down Thrawn. But they're all about the politics of things, and so they want to use politics against Thrawn because they know Thrawn is terrible at politics. So like they can manipulate him in ways that he can't see coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason they hired Thalius was so that Thalius could spy on him to see, okay, is he actually a threat? Like give us something where he broke a law, broke a Chiss ascendancy policy in any way, then we can use that as leverage to take down Thrawn.
Yeah.
And so that's Thurfian and Zistalmu. And so Thurfian, he throughout these books, he works his way up in the myth and he becomes the top guy. I forget what that term is, but he becomes the leader of the myth family by the end of the book, in the third book, I believe. But who else can we talk about? We can talk about Cheery. We talked about her a little bit, but I liked Cheery's development in the whole trilogy because she's like 8 years old when we meet her, and then she ends up being 9 or 10 by the end of the book or series. But she has no confidence. She's timid and scared, and with the help of Thalius being a different kind of caretaker, where she actually cares for the Skywalker, like she actually sees them as a person and wants the best for them. Like they're not just a role, like for a job. She actually cares. Mm-hmm. And so Cheery grows as that in a character. But Thrawn also built her confidence because what happens? They go on a separate mission on their own. Like this Cheery and Thrawn go on a mission, and Thrawn teaches her how to fly a ship. And I thought that was cool. And then he believes in her ability more than she believes in her ability, and because of that, she's able to build confidence in that. And by the end of the second book, Thrawn is able to use her force sensitivity in a way that Skywalkers aren't supposed to be using their third sight. And so I thought she was cool.
Yeah.
So sometimes she was a little annoying. Like okay, Mark Thompson is the GOAT. Like he does all these voices.
Yeah, dude.
But sometimes this hearing that Cheerie's voice was kind of annoying. Like
yeah,
it was super high pitched voice.
Super high pitch.
And it was kind of like whiny sometimes, and I don't know. Like it was just very.
I was like this.
Okay, don't use.
It was literally that high.
It was sometimes. But
she always sounded like she was crying too.
Yeah, like she's always like on the verge of tears, and it's funny. But yes, but when they go on this mission, they meet somebody. And Drew, who did they meet? Come on, Drew.
I don't know.
Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, Anakin. Where did that? Yes.
So they meet Anakin Skywalker.
Little Annie.
Not little Annie. This is in the middle of the Clone Wars, and so he's out.
Married Annie.
He's out there looking for Padme. We don't really get a lot of information, but she goes missing, and he's out there looking for her. And they meet up, and they go on a mission together, but we don't see what that mission is, but I believe we hear about that mission in the next trilogy. But I was like, dang, this is all cool. Anakin's, I didn't think that we were going to see him, but
yeah.
And then when they come back, Thrawn comes back with a gravity well, he comes back with a shield generator. So the alien shield technology that the Chiss don't have yet. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And then, but we might as well just kind of jump. We're gonna jump ahead a lot and skip over a lot, but we'll go to the final battle where, Thrawn has his plan and how to win the battle, and he uses Thalius and Cheery again, like they're held hostage by Yiv, and Thrawn crashes his ship into his ship and takes Yiv and takes the girls back. Like, and then all these different alien groups, they fight to Nick Ardoon basically and take him out. And so the final battle, Yiv loses and is kidnapped by the Chiss. And so I thought it was a crazy plan because don't they hide something in their makeup? Like Thalius hides something with the gas or something like in her makeup. Like that's Thrawn, like the chess moves, like where he plans ahead.
It was really cool.
And so, yeah, so Jix is taken, and then this happens. So we just kind of skipped a lot, but one other character we should talk about is Keylori, who is the hired navigator from the Navigators Guild, and this guy is the biggest weasel I've ever seen in any story ever written.
True.
Like, whoever he's with, he's just on their side and gives them all the information they need. Like, oh yeah, if he does this, this. And then when he's with you, oh yeah, Thrawn's this. Like he just does what he needs to survive in any given moment, and he betrays everyone and is faithful to everybody. It's so funny. He was just a weasel. Like, it was interesting having him there, like for all 3 books. Like, he should have died a long time ago. But but I was trying to think, like, if they're made like live action, like who would play him? Like what actor? Like some weird guy. Like
what's that comic that has like longer blonde hair? He's in like a lot of older stuff. He's in that I don't know if people are watching this commercial right now, but it's like it's not for REI, it's for like I forget, some sports store, and it's like a Christmas commercial, and he like thinks like this guy's like, what should I get this person for Christmas, blah blah blah, and he's like, yeah, you should get him this. And then he's like, no, something more personal. He's like, you should get this massage gun for you and her. And then he's like, that's my sister. And like, it's a pretty funny commercial. But anyways,
I have no idea who he's
he's in Benchwarmers.
Benchwarmers.
You ever seen Benchwarmers?
I think I've seen Benchwarmers, but I saw that like 20 years ago.
He's a blonde dude. I think he's in Benchwarmers. Am I wrong?
I have no idea.
Oh gosh, I gotta look up Benchwarmers.
You talking about David Spade?
Maybe. I don't know his name. I'm so bad at names.
David Spade, the guy that was friends with Chris Farley and was like in all those movies with Chris Farley? Him?
Girl, I'm bad with names. David Spade, you said?
Yeah. I have no idea what else you're talking about. But no.
Yes, yep.
Do you think David Spade could be Keylori? I don't know about that. But
he's a little ratty.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
I don't know.
Maybe when he's younger looking, I guess. Now he's kind of older looking.
Maybe. But yes. But anyway, at the end of Chaos Rising, we find out about the true villain. And it's a guy named Jixtus, which is an interesting name. But Jixtus, we don't know anything about him at the end of the book. We just know that he's there, and then we learn he's a Grisk later on in the books. So that's the first book. Like I said, we skipped over a lot because there's a lot of big battles and politics and all that and investigation stuff. But that's the first book, Chaos Rising. And so that being said, before we transition to the next book, let's have a little commercial break from Lucy, who introduced me to the Nick Ardoon in the VCU. And speaking of the VCU, she has a little commercial, and she's in a little heated battle right now. And so let's listen to what she has to say.
Hey everyone, Fictional Lucy here. If you're wondering what all that shooting is in the background, that's because I'm in a laser battle. So I need you to hear this very important message. You see, I'm from the Voicemail Cinematic Universe, which is an original Star Wars audio drama created by Empire Radio fans through voicemails. This battle is really intense, but you can't see the true drama of it since this is just audio. That's what I need your help with. You need to illustrate the VCU. That's right, I need a picture to go along with every voicemail in this story. Any type of media, Lego, painting, digital, anything. Just go into the description of this episode and find the link that takes you directly to a Google Doc. It'll tell you exactly how to submit your work. So please, start illustrating and get me out of this mess. I really hate this guy, but in the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it.
Do it. Yes. Calling all artists. Help us out. We need your help. The VCU is great. We just need it illustrated. And I don't think we're going to meet that Christmas deadline that we were hoping for. Even if we got every single one sent to me by Christmas,
You can't even edit it that fast.
I wouldn't be able to edit that fast. But yes. But that being said, let's talk about the next book, The Greater Good. And so that is, this book was probably, like I said, I think I said it earlier, like my least favorite of the three, just because one, there was like very little Thrawn,
and it wasn't as great.
And it was more like there wasn't a lot of action, as per se. Like, there's a lot less action.
It was very more politicky.
Politics, and you kind of see a different side of you're more inside the Chiss Ascendency, where you're actually meeting more Chiss and seeing their culture and, see how things are going on. But I think, towards the end of the book, it got a little bit more intense with just like what's going on. So it got better towards the end. But what we should say is in the first book, or I should say in all of these books, there's flashbacks. And so in the first book, there's flashbacks of just Thrawn when he was younger. I kind of felt like the flashbacks in the first book were not that important. And then the flashbacks in this book follow two Chiss and an alien who works for Jixtus. And so, but this book starts out with, the Nicardoon were beat last episode. They got last book. But now that Yiv was taken, the Chiss are out there. The expansionary fleet is out there protecting, and they're tracking down remnants of the Nicardoon fleet, and they're just taking them all out because they're threats. Like, they attacked us, so we have the right now to go hunt them down. And so they're clearing them out. But we then learn about Jixtus and Haplif, a different alien species, and he hires.
Is there any art of the species of alien?
No, but I pictured him very ugly, weird face. Like, they described him, and I felt like his face was like really, like, I don't know, maybe the way I pictured it, like, like a beluga whale, like the face, like I felt like that, but very, like,
I was thinking more
really
like
more texture
than that.
But I'm saying, like, it was like that shape, but with wrinkles.
Yeah, that's literally, I was gonna say that, like a bulldog wrinkles.
Something, like, I don't know. He is a
beluga whale.
He's just a weird looking guy. Sorry for being speciesist or whatever. But what we learn, though, is that Jixtus and Haplif, whatever, were behind the refugee ships that were from the first book. And so the refugee ships, they left a planet that we later will be named Sunrise by Thrawn. They leave their planet because Jixtus and his people have taken over their planet, and they leave, and then they go to the Rapak system, and then the Pakash send out a refugee ship from them, and that's who we find in the first book. And so it's kind of like a weird, like, triangle of events, but the refugee ships were a result of Jixtus and Hapleaf on this planet, causing them to leave. And so, Hapleaf says that, or he's been appointed to take down the Chiss Ascendency, like as an individual, like from the inside, he's going to take down the Chiss Ascendency. And so they're like, okay, how is this going to happen? And because this one guy, like, what is his plan? So I guess it was interesting to see like what his plan is. And by the end of the story, it was really interesting. I really thought it was interesting how they were able to study the people and then manipulate them as a result. It's kind of like how Thrawn can analyze military tactics and figure out what to do. They did the same, but with like on a social level. Mm-hmm. And so it's Hapleaf and like, was it one other lady, like his pretend lover or something like that? I forget what her name is, but and so Hapleaf, he pretends to be to someone who wanders the chaos and learns people about alien groups and this world, and just kind of does it for fun. Like he's just seems like he's retired and he's just going on vacation all the time. And so he meets these individuals named Yopanek and Yomi, who are a young couple who are betrothed to get married someday, and they're kind of like on a time where we're just people, they kind of go out and just kind of have fun and travel the Ascendancy and learn and have experiences. And so Happy finds them, is like, hey, like you're traveling around the Ascendancy and doing things, and we just want to explore. Like, we'll pay for everything. We have our own ship. We'll give you free travel. Just show, like, we'll go wherever you want to go. And so Happy is just doing this so he can build this friendship relationship so that he can learn more about the Chiss. And so that ends up happening. And then Yomi is a very annoying person. I don't know if you agree with that, Drew, or not, but
yeah, yeah.
And like they portrayed her as someone like a very cliche, like valley girl, like, you know what I mean?
They're trying to make them seem annoying too, even like with the voice acting and stuff too.
Right. She was super. You're supposed to not like her because you're supposed to see Yopanek as like a victim of this terrible relationship.
Yes.
And so, but they also write it this way so that Hapleaf can use her against Yopanek and use their relationship against them. So they needed to write her like that. But
that's true too.
But Yomi, like, so Hapleaf has, because even though he has a plan on how to do things, he's also like on a calendar with Jixtus. Like, you have to have this happen by this time, or else our plans aren't going to work. So Yomi, she's dragging her feet because she wants to do her own things, but like she's not letting Hapleaf do his plan. So, spoiler alert, but Hapleaf kills Yomi, throws her out into space, and then tells Yopanek, oh, she's going to go to this spot to do something, and she'll catch up with you, in a few weeks or something. And Yopanek's, okay, cool, I get a break. I can go back to this planet, I think it was his home planet or whatever, Selwis. And fine, like, even though I hated Yomi, I felt really bad when she got killed.
Yeah.
Because she figured out that Hapleaf was manipulating and plotting,
Yeah.
and then Half-Leaf kills her because she finds out. And so
Not good, man. Not
now
good.
now something they didn't really fully, I don't think they explained it in the book, but maybe it's just more my interpretation of the events. But Half-Leaf does this thing where he like touches people, and like people are like find it very awkward and like weird, and he kind of, oh, I'm sorry, like this is just our culture. Like, did he do that so that him touching people was so normative that they would just allow him to do that, so that if he had to kill someone, like he could grab them without them thinking that he's like being weird? You know what I mean?
Maybe. Yeah, I
Like,
see what you mean.
if someone's
I don't
if
know.
something like their culture is to like, you know, touch your neck or something, and you just get used to it and let them do it, and
Yeah.
then they can just do that and then start strangling you or something. I felt like that's what they were like, why he did that. I don't know if it was clear, but
I didn't think too much into that, but that's definitely a possibility.
and so I don't know. I felt bad for Yomi after she got, because she just got chucked into the chaos. Like dang, like her body just floating through space, all in the middle of nowhere in space. Like no one's ever gonna find her. Like,
Nope.
and
She
Yoponik,
gone. She didn't fly like Leia, that's for sure.
Mary Poppins, you mean?
Yeah.
But Yoponik still thinks she's alive. They're gonna meet up in a few weeks or whatever.
GG.
And so then he thinks that she left him, and so I'm like, dang,
Yeah.
poor Yoponik. But yes. So while all this stuff is happening with Yoponik and Yomi and Half-Leaf, which is, I guess, I'm thinking that this is happening. These flashbacks are happening. Like, it's because I think it said something about 6 months that Half-Leaf was on Selwis for 6 months. So after the whole stuff with Yomi and Yopinik, they go to Selwis and they kind of stay there to plant their seeds, which they use to sell, and that funds their trips or whatever across the chaos. And so I think it said they were there for 6 months. So I think a lot of this, like the early stuff, like the flashbacks, might have happened during or before the first book, maybe. And then when we get to the 6 month period, it's at the current timeline.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
because like I think like the whole, when they say like Jixtus and Happy for behind the refugee ship things, I think it was like, seemed to imply like they just did it, like they just
it just happened.
And so Half-Leaf is doing all this stuff during the events of the first book, I think, if I'm reading it correctly.
I could see that.
And so we'll get back to that a little bit later, but so like we said at the beginning, they're clearing out the Nicardoon and all this jazz and getting, random ships here and that they find. But a major plot point is that they come to a spot where they believe there's going to be some Nicardoon, and when they get there, it's just a debris field of like destroyed ships and chaos, and they're like, this is weird, like we didn't do this, but all these ships have been destroyed, all these Nicardoon ships are gone, and like they're really confused on what actually happened here, because then because of this, the ships start putting things together, like there's someone else out there, there's a different enemy out there, and that causes, a lot of chaos with Thrawn, and we get introduced to another character, Lakinda, who later becomes Zayinda in the next book. But one thing that they discover is that there were like these meteors, or not meteors, asteroid, that's a better word, like an asteroid, like a rock that ends up having like a hidden missile inside it. And so this is something that they deal with in this book and in the next book, where these hidden asteroids have these missiles in there that, because you don't know it's there, you get so close to it that there's no way for you to defend against it once it launches. And so they're able to figure this out. And so, okay, so there's more. There's these hidden things. There's definitely another enemy out there, but they don't know who it is or what is going on. And so there was one battle where like they're dealing with trying to disarm this while they're battling, and they're trying to get it disarmed so they can join the battle. And that was a really cool scene. And I think it was this book where during one of these battles in this book, I wasn't necessarily not this specific fight battle, but they played like a giant ship comes and it plays the Imperial March.
Oh yeah.
I totally thought that this was actually an Imperial. I guess I thought it was a Star Destroyer, because like there's like a giant ship of technology we've never seen before, and they play the Imperial March. I thought like a Star Destroyer came. Like, okay, the Clone Wars is over, because we know last book we met Anakin.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it just ended. Now they're going into they're expanding into the unknown regions a little bit to see what's out there with some Star Destroyers.
Yep.
Because they played the Imperial March, and it wasn't. Dude, they got me so bad. I was like, I got hyped. I was like, dude, this is gonna be nuts.
Yeah.
And they just did it. There's some other times when they played Star Wars music in weird spots. I'm like, I remember hearing this piece of the soundtrack in this scene in the movie, but it's like completely unrelated to what they're playing it to in like in
They're
the
just trying to
audiobook.
fill gaps
Right.
through the audiobook by just adding in cool music.
I think they paid like Across the Stars, like it's some randomly like has nothing to do with like a love scene or anything, like romance or anything. Like it was kind of
they just like to throw in some songs here and there to keep the background noise, not just like people talking. Because like if you guys listen to like some Star Wars audiobooks, have better production sometimes.
production
I don't know
value.
Why. Yeah, I don't know why, because like I think the High Republic one, I think was the one that like I remember the most, was one of those books like they were in the city and it would be like the same background people like slightly talking, but it was so there's like a part in it that was so repetitive that I was like not even paying attention to the actual audio. I was like paying attention to what was happening in the background of a city.
Oh, they just copy pasted.
It was like the same noise, the same like
on loop.
Yeah, and it was like at a certain point, it was like very like, okay, this is actually distracting now. This is not actually helping me.
It kind of reminds me of in Bad Batch when they go to that one planet with that senator that they rescue, and like the crowd is out there, and if you look throughout the crowd, like it's the same person, but they just like change hair color and skin color.
Yeah.
And
it was like they just cut corners somewhere, and that was like where they decided to cut.
Right. But anyway, a major plot point in Greater Good, which I really wish they spent more time on it than they did, but Thrawn and Thalius and them, they are able to track down. They go back to the Pakash people and the planet Rapak, and because the refugees that were from the planet Sunrise, which we'll learn about, where they left Sunrise and they went to Rapak, Thrawn figures, I forget how, but he figures this out, and he goes back to Rapak to see if the Nicardoon are still there, because that's where they were before.
Yep.
And so the Pakash, they took over the Nicardoon ship. And so at first it's like, okay, here's a fight, but then what's his face? I can't remember his name. Like the main guy that's a Pakash says like, no, we took over their ship. And Thrawn's like, okay, can we meet up and talk again? Like, and talk about the refugees that are on the planet. And so Thrawn wants to meet the refugees. Like, what happened? Like, where is your planet? Blah, blah, blah. So he kind of goes to investigate. And when we get there, there's a small group of people. I think it was like 100 people or something like that. This alien group that were refugees, and their leader is someone called the Magus, and she's kind of like the matriarch. She's like the leader of these people and like a spiritual leader and all that jazz. And we learn that their planet was basically destroyed and she has no hope for her people, and like their planet is dead. There's no hope. There's no point of going back. And her plan is like, if we die, like we will join the beyond. That was they call it? Yeah. The great beyond or whatever. The beyond. And
it's like a culty kind of.
Yeah, so like she's like, if we join the beyond, like we will be able to rebuild our planet through being kind of like they can influence the health of the planet by dying and joining the beyond. And so what is interesting though is because they're a matriarchal society, Thalius is a talking person to the Magus, and she's the one talking and learning and trying to convince them, like, can we just go back to your planet and like see what's like, tell us your planet so we can go there and investigate and see maybe, there's still hope there and you can go back. But she's like, no, like all hope is done. We're planning on just kind of all committing suicide basically, so that we can just help restore our planet. And so eventually they leave. The Magus and one other person, they join Thrawn and Thalius and them on their ship, and they go investigate. And they can fast forward. They feel like there's no hope on their planet, and like the second person kills himself, and out of hopelessness, and they because they're worried about the Magus killing herself because she's the only one that knows about what happened on that planet. They they put her like into sleep. Like what do they call it? I can't remember how they worded it, but they put her like knock her out basically with like in a chamber, and they just keep her hostage basically just to keep her alive. Like she can't think, she can't do anything. She's just so she doesn't kill herself. I'm like, dang, this is kind of dark. Like they're just putting this old lady to sleep and putting her in a locked up room, and just to keep. It was kind of like along the lines of like being frozen in carbonite, but it wasn't carbonite. It was just she was still fleshly.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, dang, this is kind of rough. But like, we got after that point, we get very little about the Magus and that storyline. And like I said, like in this book, there's not a lot as much Thrawn as I thought there would be. And so like I was really pumped about like this Magus stuff and like their view of the Force, and I was like, oh dang, this is gonna be really cool. And then we didn't get a lot until later on at the end of the book, and then a lot more in the next book. But Thrawn, he's doing his thing, trying to investigate all this stuff, and right. And so that being said, we'll go back to the Haplif stuff on Selwys. And so what Haplif does is, as a gift to people that he meets, he gives these brooches or like jewelry made out of a special material called Nyx. And what we learn is that Nyx is like the most precious metal out there, and it's used to like build their like fleet, their
ships and
their ships and stuff.
Weapons.
And they're just using it. This alien, the egg buoy, that's the name of their species.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what they call themselves. Maybe it's not actually what they are, but they just use it for like jewelry, and they just give it away like it's nothing. And so
it's like if someone was like making like necklace out of Beskar and just like throwing it away.
Yeah, here's some Beskar stuff. Like And so, so they're on this planet Selwis where they set up on this like piece of land that's like owned by some farmer, but like you can plant over there. It's not the best dirt, but you can have it over there. And so they give the brochures to like the farmers. They give it to like the kind of like the mayor or whatever of whatever town that is, or governor type of thing.
Yeah.
That allowed them to come on the planet and set up their little farming thing. And like they like, dude, can you like look into like they send it into like scientists? Can you like analyze it to see what it is? And they realize it's Niax, and they're like, then eventually they talk about like, where'd you get this material? Blah blah blah. And like, oh yeah, there's this plant. It's just kind of in the middle of nowhere. We just mine it for this stuff, and just it doesn't really mean anything. It's just something we do, type of thing. And so because we talked about last week about the politics of the families and stuff, but
Yeah.
this family, which I should have wrote down their names, but I should probably Google that. But they're part of the 40, and so they are not a ruling family, and so they are
They're lower.
Kodio is the name of the family. I can't pronounce it, but they're like, if
They're
we can,
like lower grade, like,
huh?
Is their family like technically lower?
They're just part of the 40. Like I don't.
Yeah.
They have influence. They have some prominence, but they're not a ruling family. And this governor mayor guy, I forget his name, but he's like if we can get this planet, like take it for ourselves, kick out these egg buoy people, like we'd jump into one of the ruling families because we'd have mining rights to this planet, and we'd be able to
mine all this metal that
supply
wasting.
Supply to the expansionary fleet and to the rest of the Ascendency to like give all this mining, all this Niax material.
Yeah.
And so
it's a good plan.
It is like, it's good, like how he wants to like do this, but then like it kind of crap hits the fan really quick with this.
Like
and so
always.
What we learn is that yes, there's the expansionary defense fleet, which protects the Ascendancy from the outside, but each family / planet has their own defense fleet just for that specific planet, for any threats that could come their way. And
which did they forget about that or what? I don't remember.
Well, they were just kind of like there's no use for them because they've had peace for so long, and they're not being attacked from the outside that they know of yet. And so it's peace times. Like when you get comfortable, like you don't expect bad things to happen. And so, but this mayor guy, he's like, we can take this planet for ourselves. And then we'd become one of the ruling families, and because there's 9 and they could be the 10th. And so what they're able to do, which is a very interesting thing, is any family can call for or establish a family emergency. And by doing that, they can activate their military warships that are just for their planet, for their family. But not only that, is if any of their family members are in the expansionary defense fleet, they can call them back for the family emergency, and they have to go. And so we were introduced to Lakinda earlier in the book and throughout this book as someone working with Arlani and Thrawn and investigating and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And she gets called back like, hey, there's a family emergency. We need you to come back. And she just leaves. And she's like the leader of an entire ship, like in the defense fleet. And so she gets called back, and they're like, okay, we need to take over this planet type of thing. And one thing leads to the other, and she's able to connect the dots that this is not a good thing because they learn that there's other families that are going for the same planet. There's 2 other families
Yep.
gunning for this planet. So there's more than one Happy
hot
Leaf,
spot.
basically. There's a bunch of different at one point there's other Egg Buoy or other people in Jixtus's entourage that are doing the same thing that Happy Leaf is doing. And now they got me. I thought something was going to happen and I was completely wrong. Like I thought that when these 3, because they said these 3 families or these 3 planets were all in the same like sector of the Ascendency. So I thought that when those 3 defense fleets all left, I thought Jixtus and his fleet were going to attack and take over these 3 planets.
Oh,
I
like
thought
you
that was
they're gonna like be sneaky and go behind their back and
once the fleet
that would have been
leaves.
cool.
I thought that's what's going to happen. I'm completely wrong. I was wrong. But Lakinda figures out what's going on, and that gets relayed to Thrawn, and Thrawn is like, I got to stop this from happening, blah, blah, blah. And Thrawn gets there first to this planet before the other 3 families do. And they all get there, and Lakinda is trying to tell them, like, this is a setup type of thing, blah, blah, blah. Or I can't remember, I don't know. It was a really thing, like, this whole battle was, like, really confusing. And even, like, from the Chiss perspective, like, all the politics and stuff, like, they're like, something else happened here, but we don't know what happened. And no one's telling us the truth. But none of the evidence is there to prove anything type of thing.
Yeah.
But earlier in the book, they're able to capture some alien ships that are like remote controlled, like 20 ships or something like that, that were controlled by Jixtus's fleet or whatever it was. And Thrawn uses these remote control ships to fake attack his ship. And so then the 3 families are forced to fight these remote control ships type of thing. And so they all work together to defeat these things. And then Thrawn is able to use Chiri to like move a ship or something. I can't remember what it was. Like she's able to like look into the future by 3 seconds to like know when they can use their what is it called? When they trap a ship and they pull it toward themselves. What is that called? Like at the beginning of episode 4 when this is Star Destroyer takes, what is it called?
Hyper beam?
No. Yeah, no. Tractor beam. That's what it is.
Tractor beam.
Tractor beam. They have like their
I
own.
thought you meant like a force, like
No, because they needed to like tug a ship
yes.
that's falling or crashing or whatever. But if they
Correct.
didn't do it correctly, it would have looked like they used their tractor beam.
Mm-hmm.
And so Thrawn uses Chiri to like use her third sight, which has never used it like this before, and she's able to say, okay, now, like a few seconds in advance, and then they use the tractor beam to like make it look like it crashed the way it's supposed to or whatever.
Yeah.
And so crisis averted.
That's when you see that, that's when you realize it's like force related. Right. That's like the moment where you're like, oh, I see what they're doing.
Right.
Like this is not just like a skill that people are like have when they're young. Like this is force related stuff.
Right. And so and we learn that where the Nyax actually came from is the planet that the Magus is from. Like they make this jewelry out of Nyax and whatnot. And so they learn that because they wake up the Magus and show her this brooch that I'm trying to think, it was somehow one of the officers, someone from Selwys was able to send the brooch to Lakinda somehow. I forget how it worked out, but that's how she gets it as a gift. So she has it, and then they're able to show this brooch to the Magus. They wake her up, like, do you recognize this? We got this from your planet. Like, Thalia's lied. Like, yeah, we got this from your planet. Like someone from your planet gives it, like, because they assumed that was from the planet. And then Magus was like, oh, my people are still alive, type of thing, and like gave hope. And so that's how they got some information about that. So the Magus was then she was thrown back into her sleep chamber thing. um, but yes. So that's the second book, Greater Good. Like, there's a lot that happened. There's a lot of space battles and investigation that we didn't go over.
Yep. But that was like the gist of.
Yeah,
There's
so
a lot less Thrawn in that.
A lot less Thrawn. So it was a lot of just seeing these flashbacks with Yoponik and Yomi and Hapleaf, and then stuff happening on Selwis about, the people like figuring out like is this Hapleaf guy? What are they doing with this Nyax? And the whole manipulation by Hapleaf, and then because like Hapleaf is on like a farm with this southern guy, this family with like redneck accent, and so the farmer guy figures it out, and he ends up killing Hapleaf or fighting him or whatever, and then like so, but then like the ship leaves without him, type of thing. So like, I'm pretty sure Hapleaf was killed, but he had it coming. So
yeah, he did.
But maybe it would have worked out. Maybe instead of manipulating people with Nyax, he could have just manipulated him over a cup of coffee, right, Drew?
I would have. That's
Because
how I get a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, a lot of people, they sit down, like a lot of first dates. Let's go get some coffee.
True.
Are
you saying all dates are manipulated? All right.
I don't know. I've never been on a date, so I could never tell you. But people like to put on their best set of shoes on their first date just to make them look better than they really are. Because everyone looks great on their first date, but then as you get to know someone, you see all their dirty laundry. But yes, but a cup of coffee, I hear, is a good first date. So if you want coffee, you should get some Wesley Andrews coffee and tea. So you can order it. Well, we're going to tell you how you can order it, but you can also go to the coffee shop itself and get coffee for a first date. True. So if you live in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, that's a good place for a first date, right, Drew?
Yeah. Actually, I've seen a lot of people get stood up.
Oh, no.
There's been a couple of times where people are like sitting there by themselves, waiting to order. And I go, do you need anything? And they're like, I'm waiting for someone. Hour later, I'll just have this coffee to go. And then they leave. And like, ooh. Actually, I remember one time someone was there and they broke up with someone there that they were like dating for like 4 years. And this guy was a regular. I'm like, bro, why would you bring her here?
Did she break up with him or did he break up with her?
He broke up with her. And she started crying. Like, it was a really, I don't want it was.
Oh, maybe you shouldn't go. I don't know. Let's just listen to a commercial from Wesley Andrews, Coffee and Tea.
Hey everyone, Andrew here. I'm pleased to tell you that the sponsor of today's episode is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. If you don't know anything about Wesley Andrews, you definitely should. They're an award-winning coffee roaster and shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they make fantastic coffee. The awesome thing is that whether you live in the Twin Cities or not, you can get their coffee beans delivered straight to your door by ordering them online. They even have a subscription service that ensures you never run out of amazing coffee. If you've been looking for some new coffee to try or a way to elevate your normal coffee routine, now's your chance. Head over to wesleyandrews.cc, use the code EMPIRERADIO, that's with a capital E and a capital R with no space at checkout, to get 15% off your first purchase of any bags of coffee or a coffee subscription. I can't think of a better deal. Get 15% off some great coffee, support a small business, and support your favorite Star Wars podcast. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it.
Do it.
Do it. All right.
That was the tea that I gave you.
So your story reminded me of my brother Jonah. So he's married, and his first date with his wife
Mm-hmm.
was a blind date. But
Oh.
their blind date was set up a night of a snowstorm. And so my brother Jonah was 2 hours late to the blind date, and she waited for 2 hours
What?
at the restaurant. And this is like they didn't even have each other's. This is like
This is before like cell phone. Well, not
well
before
so
cell
this would have
phones,
been
but
they got married in 2009. So this is like when I was in high school. So yes, cell phones are still a thing, but I don't think they had each other's number. So he called the restaurant. I was like, "Hey, is there a girl waiting there? Like, tell her I'm on my way. I don't know how long I'm gonna be, but she waited for 2 hours, and now they're married and they have a family together.
it
So
was meant to be.
it was meant to be.
She waited 2 hours. She's never gonna let him live that down, though. Anytime they get in a fight, you know that it always ends with, I waited 2 hours. For like every single fight they always have.
All right, well, we gotta do this third book a little bit faster than I thought we were gonna be going. So let's go a little bit faster with this third book,
The juicy one.
Lesser Evil. And so this book was they should have named this one Chaos Rising for the first book, because this was tons of chaos in this.
Yeah,
so
they should have switched. Like Lesser Evil should have been the first book.
Yeah, because the Nicardoon were the lesser of the evils.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Dang it, Timothy.
Yeah. So this book really showcases the politics of the families compared to the other ones. Like, I hear about all this stuff. Okay, I'm reading these first two books. There's all these politics, like blah blah blah. But you start to see it in the second book with the whole, three families find this planet or want to use this planet and they take it for themselves. Blah blah blah, and you get that politics. I'm like, okay, but this one is when crap hits the fan, because, so at the beginning of the book they find out that they figure out that this destroyed base or this destroyed stuff was all staged, and they're doing the research, and doing the research, and they find out that there's someone named Jixtus, and that he's in the power. He was the one in control of the Nicardoon the whole time. But like the Jixtus, what he does is he goes to families and he says, I have some video of some footage. There's a greater threat coming at you, and I want to help you, type of thing. And it's just like a little, 5-second clip or something. And, the families, they see it and they're like, oh, that's nothing, blah, blah, blah. But he gives this video to multiple families and blah, blah, blah. And it's a practice battle, between the families. Like they're these three families, they're joining forces and they're going to, work together. And, we don't know, people don't know, they just see this video of these families that weren't supposed to be allies being allies or something like that. And we find out that Jixus, he starts kind of feeding lies and, giving rumors to these families. And because of this, all these Chiss families just start fighting each other and going to war and space battles against other families. And he used the whole thing on Selwis and the three planets and the whole Nyack stuff to stir the pot a little bit, to cause conflict. Those three families start conflict, and then in the next book, Jixus is able to start conflict based off of this and spread all these rumors and stuff. And so, like I said, crap hits the fan. What do you think,
Yep.
Drew? What do you think?
I think there's parts of this book that it kind of keeps you on edge, which I really enjoy. It's a good wrap of a 3-book series, I think. This one, it wraps it in a way that keeps you on edge and it wants you to go to the other 3 books and read more into it, and maybe you'll get a resolve kind of, and it's, I think, compared to the last one, this one, it it kind of develops Thrawn in a different way, which I really enjoy, like his development throughout this book compared to even the first two books. Like, I don't know, I feel like you learn Thrawn more deeply throughout this book and his war tax, like the way he battles and stuff. It's really, really cool. So, and that
Right.
last battle scene is just unreal. It's so good.
Right. And so we learn more about Thrawn's inability to navigate family politics. Um, and we learn this more directly through the flashbacks, because the flashbacks in Lesser Evil, this third book, um, not most of them. Well, maybe, I'm trying to think, but like a lot of them have to do with a friend that Thrawn makes early on in his military career, Thras. And so Thras becomes his best friend, and they're kind of opposites. So Thrawn is a military genius and understands military strategy and how the military works and that way of thinking, but Thras is more of a politician, more of policy and family stuff. Like, he can understand that really well, and they really complement each other. And Thrawn,
It's like when I was like reading this part, I always like thought it was like Palpatine and 2. Like, I think Palpatine character is like a mixture of both of these characters combined, where like Palpatine understands everything about like family, like politics, like not family, but like the politics of like the Empire, and he learned how like the only way he was able to become who he was is to get into that leadership role and become the leader of the Republic or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he was able to do that, but it was always so much farther ahead. Like Thrawn, when he battles, like he's always, like I said earlier, like 4 or 5 steps ahead. And I feel like that's like Palpatine too. Like, he was planning out this whole Clone War just to get to an end result of something else. Like, that was his whole plan. So I think like I liked how these two characters, like we were like figuring out both these two characters, but then when you really think about it, it was like, oh, this is like literally Palpatine, but split in two, which is kind of cool. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if that was Timothy's like thought process of creating these two characters, but that's what I thought of. I just thought of Palpatine for some reason.
right. And so it is interesting that you put it like that. But we learn that the myth patriarch, like the head guy, I should know. I should have put his name down, but he and someone else, I can't remember who it was, but like they were the opposite. Kind of like we see Thurfian and Zestalmu trying to take down Thrawn because he sees him as a threat, but the myth patriarch Thrakic, something like, maybe that's what it is, something like that. He and I think someone else saw Thrawn and Thras as the opposite, where they're two opposites in ability, but they're the best at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And if those two work together, like, they'd like be able to bring prosperity to the Ascendency, like beyond anything anyone could ever know, type of thing. And so it was interesting that they were kind of like, things were put in motion so that those two would become friends, and they were on that trajectory to do that eventually, because like some of the flashbacks, like they're just playing like some strategy game or something. They're like a board game type of thing, and Thrawn is trying to teach him how to do military tactics, but then Thras is teaching them about person relations and family relations and all that stuff. And like, you could see the beginnings of that, like where those two could work together and teach each other things, and they could become great leaders for the Ascendancy. But sadly, Thras dies. We don't get a timeline, I don't think, but I think he's out like in lesser space, I think it was, and he is on some alien mission or something, and like they have to sacrifice their lives to save a group of people, and so Thras sacrifices his life to save these aliens or something, and so he dies, which was kind of sad. But
Was it though?
yeah, because when people die, it's sad. Okay, except for Tim with two M's from Andor. Screw that guy. But yeah, so
Two M's.
but yeah, so that's those were one aspect of the flashbacks. But like a part of it when they were one of the flashbacks was that Thrawn and Thras were recruited by another family to retrieve a package that was stolen. I think it was by aliens, like an alien group, and they don't know what it is, blah blah blah. But with Thrawn and Thras together, we're able to defeat with both military and like psychological like relations to like recover this object. And what we learn is that it's a part, I think it was, of an ancient weapon that the Chiss had. Star Flash, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Which is basically it takes it's kind of like a like Star Killer base kind of, but like a much smaller version where it can take the power of the sun and like destroy a bunch of stuff at one time or something like that, I think. And so the Chiss used that weapon once a long time ago to defeat an enemy that was about to destroy the Ascendency. And we learn like in I think the first book that the home like capital of Chila like was like it's like an ice planet, and it's because they used that weapon that it caused the atmosphere and the way the world planet works, like it completely went to chaos because of it and made it a nice planet and blah blah blah. And so it was this weapon that was used that it saved the Chiss Ascendancy, but it basically ruined the planet's ability to function properly. And so this family hired Thrawn and Thras to get this weapon artifact back so that these aliens wouldn't be able to replicate it or whatever it was. And so the whole time I thought like, okay, is this Starflash thing going to come back and be used? I thought this was going to be used at the end.
So did I when I first read these books.
Which they clearly Timothy Zahn set it up to look like that, but then kind of shows Thrawn's ability to not have to take use of the most terrible weapon that could be used. And so so anyway, we should mention that so this a main character that we get introduced to in this book is Roscoe. She is a like
rascal,
something like that. Yeah. So she has like she's an interesting character because she's very hot-headed in a sense and very like don't tell me what to do, because she's
independent.
I don't know, it's a bad word, but she doesn't take orders from. She's not going to listen to another family, and so she's very prideful with her family, and you know she almost just does make some terrible decisions. But there's one scene where she's about,
There's one scene.
It is a scene,
I guess chapter.
where
Part.
she's about to get destroyed by one of those asteroid missiles because she doesn't know what it is, and Lakinda showed up to like stop her, like, hey, you
Don't
like,
go there.
don't go. This is gonna be bad.
Trap.
It's a trap.
I need to get that button.
Because Jixtus wanted the ship to get Rasku and her crew to be killed because it looked like this other family
Yep.
did it.
Yep.
And if that happened, even more chaos would arise. Like a family just blew up entire ship.
Mhm.
And so Lakinda, when or I guess it's Zayanda now at this point, because she changed families.
Yeah,
She changed families, and to stop her from being killed and making this mistake, Zayanda fires at Rasku. Like, doesn't like hit her, but enough to like get your attention. And so then
woke her up.
Rasku's like, all right, I'm listening. And then they're able to diffuse the situation, and crap did not hit the fan, but it would have been really bad. And so I really like that scene. That was probably one of my favorite scenes in like the whole trilogy. Actually, I just really liked it. And so there's that. But eventually, I should say one other thing. Chiri and the Magus have a deep connection, force connection. So it gets started at the end of the last book when they wake up the Magus, because they're hiding her in Chiri's and Thales' like living quarters, like in a side room or whatever.
Yeah.
And so when they wake up the Magus, like when she's freaking out and like, what did you just do to me? Like, you just put me asleep. How are you doing this? Blah, blah, blah. Like, she looks to the bedroom where Chiri is, and then she like calms down. Like, she makes a connection. Like, and like, so like end of last book, we're like, what the heck's going on? Like, what was this that happened?
Mm-hmm.
And then even like throughout this book, like what exactly happened? And so the Magus was able to like see that Chiri was force sensitive, even though they don't call it the Force.
Yeah.
But and so then later on in the book, it's really creepy. So if you're reading the book, it's not as crazy sounding, but in the audio version, the Magus possesses Chiri in a sense and is able to talk through Chiri. So this 9-year-old girl who talks really high pitched, blah blah blah, is now talking like this crazy old lady alien voice.
Yeah.
Like,
it's kind of cool.
It's cool, but then she's like talking through Chiri, and Chiri's able to like have like, she's having like nightmares and dreams, and because the Magus is communing with her in a sense, and it's just like it's a weird, confusing stuff, which I wish
a little creepy.
Wish we got more information on, but anyway, they find out. Long story short, there's a final battle that's going to happen at Sunrise, which is the planet that the Magus and her people are from. And
yeah, not actual sunrise.
Not actual sunrise. It was kind of more of a hopeful thing that Thrawn had. So one thing that this was kind of like I don't know if it was a plot hole or it wasn't fully written out, but when the Magus possesses Chiri, she's like, I need Chiri so that we can see the future, so that we can defeat the enemies. Like the only way we can defeat the enemies is if I use Chiri to, see the future. And I guess it was Samacro was in charge of the ship at the time and says, no, like, we're not doing that. We'll find our own way. And so, by the end of the book, like, the Chiss win, like, they defeat the enemies, but they didn't need to use Chiri and the Magus. So it was like, there was no explanation on that. Like
why they didn't use them?
No, like, because it made it look, the Matrix was like, if you don't do it my way, you're all gonna die. And they didn't do it her way, and they were just fine. And so, like, I wonder,
Yeah,
was the Magus just kind of like stuck in her ways? Like, the only way we know how to be successful is if we look into the future.
it was like another thing to show like Thrawn didn't need that.
But like, it would have been an opportunity where, because they refused to listen to the Magus, like the Chiss lost. Like, because I going in, like I said, I didn't know anything about what happened. Like, I didn't know how Thrawn left the Ascendency and joined the Empire. Like, I didn't know any of that. So I was like, maybe Thrawn, loses this battle. The Chiss get taken over by this enemy, and he flees. Because like the only thing I heard was like Thrawn left and joined the Empire so that he could protect his people somehow. Like, that's all I kind of really know. It's like, oh, maybe he joined the Empire so that he could take the Empire back to like save his people or something. Like,
gotcha.
So like part of me thought that the Chiss Thrawn was gonna lose. But spoiler alert, Thrawn didn't lose. He actually won. And so
kicked out.
So this final battle was kind of nuts. There's a lot that happened in this battle. And so the expansionary defense fleet, they had a bunch of ships, and then there was a bunch of other ships that were from like the planetary defense fleets that joined. They kind of were all hitting in a debris field of like all they destroyed ships and stuff like that. They made it look like there was a big battle there, that whatever. And so when the Grisk arrive, Jixtus and the Grisk fleet arrive, they're all hidden basically, and then they all come out and start attacking. And what they actually do to have the advantage over the Grisk was, in the first book, they capture a gravity well generator, and they use that to their advantage, because we learn a lot about space travel so like they have this thing where like if you're too close to a planet, you get sucked in and you're screwed. Like, you can't use your hyperdrive, you can't blah blah blah, you get stuck. And so it was a really confusing thing for me, like, to understand like how they can go in and out of planet, but if they do it wrong, like they can't do anything, type of thing. But if you get too close to the planet's gravity well, like that pulls you in, it screws with your ability to use your ship. And so this gravity well generator that was stolen from an alien planet, I forget which was it, the Garwians or the Leo AOI or whatever they're called. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah,
but
the ORI, I think.
The Leo AOI. I could never say that. I heard him say the name a million times.
You still can't say it.
And I tried to say it, and I couldn't do it. But so because when you're caught in the gravity well, you can't use your hyperdrive.
Yes.
And so, but what a lot you see in the 3 books is that you can do in-system jumps, which is just a short jump distance, like where you're only going like, you're not actually jumping into hyperspace, really. You're just kind of doing like a quick type of thing, like pop.
Like, don't they do that one in the movies? Doesn't Poe do that on Millennium Falcon?
You're talking about hyperspace skipping?
Yeah, it's like kind of like that, isn't it?
Similar, but he's still going from like system to system. But here it's an in-system jump where you're only going like from like here to the moon type of thing. Like,
hey man, that's a jump.
That's still like 250,000 miles away.
I mean, yeah, like,
so that is a small jump.
Same thing, but it is like
kind of
like it.
And so, so they're able to use this gravity well generator to stop the Grisk ships from being able to fly properly because they turn on
Slalom, essentially.
the gravity well generator and the Gris ships can't go
Mhm.
anywhere or move, but then the Chiss ships are able to navigate through that. They're able to do in-system jumps and jump back and forth and all this stuff. And so they're able to it kind of reminded me of the High Republic stuff when the Nihil were using those. There was that one battle where they're just kind of like jumping back and forth and like from spot to spot. Remember that scene? And like, so it kind of reminded me of that, where you're doing like all these different jumps and you're just moving back and forth, and people can't really hone in on anyone. And so they use that to their advantage. And they're able to get Jixtus's ship stuck in Sunrise's gravity well. And so like he's getting destroyed, like his ship is getting destroyed, but then he's able to like back into like the gravity well where he's close enough to the planet where like he can't do anything per se, but like if anyone else tries to come at him, they're gonna get sucked in too. And so he's kind of like safe down there, and he's kind of like faced away from the planet so he can attack. But anyway, there's a point where they find out, where the Grisk figure out, okay, this ship right here has the gravity well generator, like that's what they're doing, and they go after that ship, which is, if I remember correctly, it was Apros, which was
yeah.
There's so many names, like I can't.
Bro, dude.
There's so many names.
That's why I was like kind of disappointed you didn't make a PowerPoint.
Dude, I didn't have time to make a PowerPoint. But
we can
so then he's on like he's on the run because they figured him out and they're like, okay, our plan is taken over, like you gotta get out of there type of thing. And so he's doing this thing where he's trying to escape, blah blah blah. And earlier in the book, Apros is talking with Zayinda about family honor and not like, I'm not like going to be remembered for anything we do at this final battle. Like I don't want to sacrifice my life if it's not going to mean anything. But Zayinda is like, who cares what, the Ascendency thinks about you? Like, where are you? Like, we're going to remember you. Like your team here, your family is going to remember you. Like, that's all that matters. And it kind of calms Apros down. Like, okay, you're right. Like I don't need to be remembered by the whole Ascendency type of thing. And so there's a point where Apros is, he has the Jix's ship. He escapes because like the Arlani was watching him, but got distracted by other things going on in battle, and he's able to escape. But like Apros is like, I can get to him and I can stop him. So like, he's gonna sacrifice his life.
Dude, oh really?
Because that's what it sounded like. He's like, the only way is if I sacrifice myself. I'm the only one that can get to him. So I'm gonna tell you, I got teary eyed when this happened.
Really?
I was like, he was this couple of chapters earlier. He's like talking about family honor, and he's not going to be remembered except for anybody but like his family. And here he's going to have to sacrifice his life. Like, I'm like, oh no! Like I felt so sad. And then he didn't have to die. Like they like the what is it? Allies who come back. So all these all these aliens, like the Garwians, the Vax, like all these alien ships, they come and save the day. Like that was part of Thrawn's plan. Was they come. So that's how they finish off everything. Is these other aliens come to help, which I thought that they would have, going into before the battle started. I thought they were going to already be there in the battle, waiting and hiding. I didn't. So like when the battle started and they weren't there, I was like, oh, they're not coming. So it was weird that like they came at the end of the battle.
Yeah.
So, but it's whatever. But Jixtus realizes that he's been defeated, and because his ship is just getting completely demolished, and so with the Grisk ships, they explode, but they explode in such a way where no debris is distinguishable. So like you can't even find a Grisk body because he's like covered in. No one knows what a Grisk looks like because he's covered in like a cloak and like his face is covered with a veil and like you don't know what he looks like, and so no one knows what the Grisks look like. And so he just explodes the ships. All the other Grisk ships, they explode, and there's no evidence of what happened. And then like the rest of the fleet from like the Chiss come like because they're going there to like stop the battle or something, and they get there and the battle's done. But which is kind of funny. Party's over. And so all this was like a big plan with General Bakif, who's like the lead of the expansionary defense fleet. Like he lied to everyone, like the politicians, like the aristocra, I think that's the term.
Yes.
The family politics is the aristocra, those 9 ruling families, like all the politicians and stuff. And so he was like part of that, like conspiring, like not communicating with them just so because they know that they would mess with his plans and stuff. But at the end of the day, like this whole conflict with the Grisk and the fighting and all that stuff is seen as Thrawn breaking Chiss law and policy. And so in order for the Ascendency to move forward,
they have to let him go.
They have to put all the blame on Thrawn. And that way everyone else like Arlani and Zayinda and all these other officers, they are protected from any true like wrongdoing. Like yes, like they know like okay, you were involved, we know it, but people like Thurfian and Zilstalmu and stuff, they wanted Thrawn out anyway. So
they're trying to find any way to get him out.
So like they put all the blame on him. And so what we should say is, before we go a little bit further, is they asked like the aliens, like the Garwians and the Vax and all of them that showed up to fight, like why did you come to the aid and stuff? And they said because, or why did they become allies with the Chiss? And he said because they were the lesser of the 2 evils type of thing. So like they saw the Chiss as evil, but the Grisk were the bigger evil. And so now I have a hot take that people in the Discord, namely 2 individuals, are going, I'm not going to name them by names, but they know who they are if they listen to this. But there's been lots of debates over the last months and months about Thrawn and how they don't like Thrawn being labeled as a villain in like the Rebels or during the Empire time. Like they don't want to see him as a villain. Like it's wrong to label him as that. Well, and I was like, I don't know, I'm kind of confused because he's just trying to protect his people. Like, so he can't be whatever. Like, that's basically like he's trying to protect his people. So it's like you can't call him evil. He's not a bad guy in a sense. But there's a line, there's something that he says that at the end of this book, like at the end of the battle, that it cements it in that I consider him a villain. Like he's a bad guy because someone was asking him like, because like one of the things was like he had the option of killing all the mages and her people, like for whatever, and he's like, I would kill everyone on Sunrise if it meant the protection of the Ascendency. Like, I will do whatever it takes to protect my people, and if I have to commit genocide to these people, I will. And when you say something like that, you're a villain, in my opinion.
I think people like, because Thrawn's character is so like beautiful in the sense of like the art and how that's like included into his character, the mind of his character and how he thinks and how brilliant his character is. And I could see how people are saying like he joined the Empire to protect his family and his people and stuff like that. At the end of the day, he still joined the Empire. He didn't join the Rebel Alliance to protect his people.
Right.
Like at a certain point, he could have switched paths, and he didn't. And he knew that what he was doing at some point he started to know what he was doing wasn't right.
Well,
So
but for him, he thinks what is right is to do whatever it takes to protect the Chiss.
yeah, but do you think if in the middle of him being part of the Empire, like in Rebels, he switched to the Rebel side? And
Well, the thing about the rebels is that they're protecting themselves and their people. So if he joined the rebels, like, he's fighting for something that's not his cause. And so, like, I know, like I said, I haven't read the second trilogy yet, but he believes that aligning himself with the Empire is the best to protect the Chiss. Like,
yes,
because I'm assuming that way the Empire doesn't target the Chiss. I'm guessing. I don't want to get into spoilers, but that's what I'm guessing. Blah blah blah. And so, like, I guess it's solidified that he's a villain in my mind, at least from the Ascendency trilogy through the events of Rebels. He's a villain. He's a bad guy.
think he's a villain because Timothy Zahn wrote him as a villain. Like he's a good guy in the sense of like there's a lesser evil. Like what is lesser evil? But like at the end of the day, he's still a villain character
Did
in
you
the Star Wars series.
Did you see what Yellow Snow said in chat? I love the part where Thrawn said, "It's Thrawn in time." That's a good saying. That's a good.
It's Thrawn in time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I like Thrawn's character too, but
I love him. Like, I don't have anything against his character. Like, I love Thrawn's character
no,
from start to finish.
like you're
And so,
rooting for Thrawn in this
yes,
series, but he is like his character is still not the like
he still kills innocent people. He kills
yeah.
rebels. He does all that jazz. And so,
And so yeah, he's still evil. Just because you're reading a book in the perspective of him, and you could sympathize with his character, doesn't make him not a bad guy at the end of the day.
right.
But I do think Thrawn is gonna have a redemption arc in the Ahsoka show.
I don't know. I think
or a Ezra Ahsoka novel,
some
or
I don't know.
Ezra and Thrawn book in between Rebels and the Ahsoka, whatever gap there is. And I know if there's a big enough gap, Timothy has already said that he's going to make a book about it or books about it. I think there could be potential redemption arc in that sense.
Well, I don't see Thrawn ever changing his commitment to protecting the Chiss Ascendancy.
No, I don't think so either.
So,
But
like, I
do you
don't.
think there's something he could do with Ezra that could make him not like him saving Ezra or like
He can, everything he does for the Ascendancy. So if he does something with Ezra, his end goal is to use whatever he's doing with Ezra to protect his people. And
yeah,
like the fact that when we get the name drop of Thrawn in Mando season 2 with Ahsoka's episode, like the magistrate,
Yeah,
the lady,
she's a really bad
she
person.
she's under Thrawn. Like,
Yeah.
so like we don't know what their relationship is. Like, Thrawn is her master, and so at whatever Thrawn's doing at this time, it's still in association with, like, that lady is still an evil lady because she's oppressing that town, that city.
True. Yeah.
And
you're
so
right.
like whatever he's a part of, it's not good. But it's not good for the people in the galaxy, but it's good for his people in the Ascendency. And so, like, I don't know what Thrawn's gonna look like. Like, I just don't know. Like, I have no idea what to predict about it. I still think that there's gonna be an interesting relationship between him and Ezra. Like, I'm really excited to see what that's like. But
If anything, Ezra could just become a bad person.
he could. He did struggle with the dark side, and so if Ezra's evil too, like, that is a possibility. But anyway, we gotta finish off the book. But so yes, Thrawn, he takes all the blame. Like, he's the one punished for everything that happened, and he is exiled to a planet on the edge of the chaos. And so the plan is, like, from his perspective, is like, and General Bekeef too, I think. They like, he's gonna be on this planet on the edge of the chaos, which aligns, which is on the edge with the rest of the galaxy that we know. And because they learned that the Clone War is over, and there's a new thing called the Empire, and so they're already nervous about what this Empire is, and so they are going to put him on this planet, and he's going to monitor the Empire, and he thinks he's only going to be there for a few months to a year by himself, and then he's going to return and, like, report back if there's things have gone to crap or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want, we got the Tales of the Jedi and type of thing. I want an episode of Thrawn on this planet by himself hunting. Like, him, like, I just picture him like the velociraptors in Jurassic Park. Like, when, like when Samuel L. Jackson gets killed, like, that guy is, like, outside, like, trying to get into the facility where, what I'm talking about, when, like, then the velociraptors, like, kill him. Like, I just picture Thrawn like that, like, but he's hunting the velociraptors. Like, he's able to manipulate, like, whatever animal he's trying to hunt, and, like, put him in, like, a trap. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool. And so that's how the book ends. Is Thrawn is put into exile, and that's it. Yep. So like I said, I enjoyed the overall plot. I think there were some weaknesses with, like, a lack of Thrawn at some points. And it's definitely a story that I wish I could understand and retell better than we've gone over, but it's very complex. It's a lot of characters, a lot of nuance, like, a lot of plot issues or plot points that need to be
plot issues, plot points that are very. So, like, if you guys are just listening to this and you're like, "What? You guys missed this part?" Let us know, because we know we probably missed a bunch, and
it was intentional too, to, like, just for time. Like, we've already gone way over than I thought we were gonna do, and we still got voicemails. So, but overall, I'd probably give this. What should we use from Ascendency to plasma spheres? How many plasma spheres out of 10? I'd probably give it a solid 8 plasma spheres out of 10.
Oh, I'm at 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10? No. 10 out of 10 is, like, there's no problems. For me, I
don't think there's any problems.
Okay. That's fine.
I think it's Thrawn, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no problem.
All right. Cool. But let us know. Send us a message on our email or our voicemail if you have any comments or things that we missed or whatever.
Yes. Please do. And let us know if there's other like books that you guys want us to break down. I know we are planning to do the next 3 Thrawn books and maybe Lost Star. Gotta convince Jeremiah to read it. But
Yes, you do. But let's if that's it, let's just go over to the transition over to voicemail
let's
times
go
because
voicemail time.
we got a lot to get done. So
It's voicemail time. Do we have a lot of voicemails?
okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 voicemails, but then we got some questions from our friend Elias, who sends them via email. So let's start with Elias. It is a he. We did bring that, like, we didn't know if Elias was a male or female, but he did mention he is a guy. So he has 3 questions for us. First questions, because Christmas is coming up, I want to ask you, what is the best Christmas gift you have ever received?
Ooh, I know mine.
What is it?
It was I want to say it was my first Christmas with my wife's family. And every year us like siblings, we all do Secret Santa, including like in-laws and stuff. And I did Secret Santa, and we have like a budget limit, and I was joking, like, you put down your budget. I think the budget was $50, but I joked and I said all, like, it was like the original 6 Star Wars films. This was before like 7 even came out, and I was like, I want all the Star Wars films on Blu-ray, and it was like $100, and I was joking, and I got it, and I was super happy that my brother-in-law Momo, shout out to you, Momo, he bought it for me, and I still have a picture of that because I randomly picked him, and so I bought the thing he wanted that was a little over budget too. So we both took pictures together. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Cool.
So
My favorite gift was probably in first grade when I
way
got
back.
when I got a dog for Christmas.
Oh,
Do you remember my dog's name? Childhood dog.
I don't remember the name, but it was a golden retriever.
Yep. Wonder.
That's what it was.
Well, technically, his full name on his dog license was Godzilla the Wonder Dog.
Who picked that name? Your dad?
I did.
Really?
And it was
so funny.
No, I remember. I think how I got it was Bert and Ernie got a dog on Sesame Street, and they're going over names. And I think who's the orange one?
Ernie.
Is that Ernie? Ernie was like, we should name him Godzilla the Wonder Dog.
And that's what
I
you
think,
picked?
if I remember correctly.
That's
and
funny.
so I convinced. So when I said
that was your dog. That wasn't just your family's dog. Like, was it like your parents?
Yes, it's a family dog, but
no. But was it like your present, or was it everyone's present?
It was for the family, but
gotcha.
I was the kid of the family, so it was.
That's true, because your siblings are like significantly older than you, right?
Yeah, that was first grade. So
no, it was like
my sister was a freshman in college, and then my brother Andy would have been a senior in high school.
And Noah?
You mean Jonah?
You
always call him Noah.
I don't know why. Jonah.
So then he would have been middle school or something.
Really?
Something like that. So
yeah.
I was a kid of the family, so it was my dog. Whatever. I don't care. Bite me. All right. So second
How old was he when he passed away?
The dog?
Yes. No, your brother. Yeah, the dog.
Oh. I was like, I don't think my brother died. It was October 2007. So he was 11, almost just shy of 11, I think.
Oh, dang, it was that long ago.
Because it would have been 96, Christmas 96 when I was in first grade. And it was November or
Why did I?
October
Dang,
20,
96. I remember
2007.
when you got a dog too. That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
But
All right.
I didn't think it was in the 90s for some reason. I don't know why.
I don't know. All right. Next question from Elias. What is your favorite Pop-Tart flavor? Mine is either Oreo, strawberry, or Eggo.
Ooh.
I have never tried Eggo, so I have
haven't-
no idea. I've seen it, but
It tastes like maple syrup, honestly.
that's it. Huh. But I think I would have to go with the Oreo, just like he
Really?
does. It's like
My
cookies and
favorite is
cream
the
/ Oreo.
cinnamon.
I used to like cinnamon, but I think it's kind of overrated, dude.
Really? I
There's
like it.
remember we had this, people were debating this in the Discord, and people were saying that the cinnamon one is just weird.
I have a
Like,
friend who literally is diehard strawberry with no frosting. No
they
frosting.
make those?
Yeah.
Make Pop-Tarts with no frosting.
Yeah.
That's blasphemous. But I like a lot of the fruit ones, like blueberry or cherry. I
don't?
get no, I
you
like
do?
blueberry or cherry. If you can get a raspberry one, I like those too.
Ooh,
But-
raspberry.
and
I don't
sometimes
remember
the
the
f-
last time I had one.
But then the fudge ones are good too. But my
Oh, yeah.
go-to is the Oreo.
lot, though.
I get those.
Really, your go-to is the Oreo, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
What's
think my
yours?
go-to is
So your
cinnamon.
cinnamon.
I
All
think
right.
so. It's just easy. It's classic.
All right. So then next question from Elias, which I guess it was 4 questions, not 3.
I was gonna say,
But
wow.
but this third one is something that only you can answer, because I can't answer this. But he says, "What is your favorite Lord of the Rings soundtrack?" Did you ever listen to the music of Lord of the Rings?
I have, but I don't
don't?
know it off.
Like,
I don't know the names of it.
I couldn't tell you any of the themes. Like, I wouldn't
Probably
recommend.
like the Hobbit song, theme.
Okay. Or like the Shire.
Yeah, the Shire.
Okay, I guess I remember that one, because that's the only one I remember. I'll go with the Shire theme.
Yeah, I would say that was probably my favorite. I don't know the names like I do like the Star Wars themes,
Right.
but
But then his last question here is, which line do you like more? I love democracy or it's treason then? I go with it's treason then.
yeah, I was gonna say that too.
I think it's a more iconic scene. It's intense scene. Now, if you ask Brady from the Discord, he always uses the I love democracy GIF thing in the Discord. So he loves that. But you go with it's treason then?
Out of those two, yes.
All right.
I mean, I prefer Obi-Wan, but that wasn't one of the
that is true. That is your favorite quote of all time, right?
Yes, I need to make a button. I keep forgetting.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Elias, for that and those 4 questions. But it's time to move on to the audio versions of voicemail time, and let's listen to the first one from, we just mentioned him, Brady.
Hello, Empire Radio. It's Brady. I just thought of something that I wanted to share with you guys and ask for your opinion on. So, I recently got my first cosplay, I suppose, so to speak. It's a Director Krennic uniform, and I'm excited to use it. However, I live in a collective dorm space with a roommate, and I think it would be really strange for him to just walk in and see me in this in this Imperial officer uniform, looking in a mirror or recording a TikTok or something. So I'm a little bit embarrassed about doing that. What do you guys recommend? I was thinking that since I live on campus, I would just go at like 10 o'clock at night to some really obscure classroom one day, and that nobody's going to walk in on me in and try on the uniform. But we'll see. What do you guys think? Thanks for being such a supportive community. See you guys.
Well,
that
Brady,
would be weirder though if someone did walk in at 10 o'clock at night. This voice is standing in the middle of the classroom.
I think you just need to own it.
I was gonna say that.
Who cares what your roommate or your floor mates say? Just own the
class one day, bro. Just go all in. Put it on in the morning like it's like another outfit. Just put it on and just walk to class and just go
Yeah.
with it.
Or what you
Yeah.
should do, like, like if you have like a group project and like you did like all the work and no one else, you could quote Director Krennic with your costume on, be like, "This is my achievement, not yours." Like you could do that. Like just own the costume, wear it, be proud of it. Don't be shy of your.
Even Yellowstone, the chat said, wear to class. Like, just go for it, man.
Okay, first of all, he is in a military school, so he might not be able to. I don't know if he has
allowed, okay, let's say if you're allowed to wear whatever.
When it's
you want
casual
to
Friday in your
Yes.
thing, wear a Director Krennic
just
uniform.
wear it.
But yes,
Or just be like, just wear and be like, oh, I grabbed the wrong uniform. Sorry, the other army I'm part
and
of.
then they're like, it's treason then because you're another military
then he
leader.
Goes, then he's sending those voicemails from like military prison.
Kind of like how the VCU when Lucy and Will and them were sending voicemails from prison. But yes, Brady, like we said,
do that.
just own it.
How rough can Canada prison be, though?
I don't know.
You get like free donuts.
All the maple syrup you can drink. Like.
Just drink.
All right. Thank you, Brady. But we got some more voicemails. So first one here from Eddie. She has 2 tonight. So let's listen to number 1.
Hey, on Radio, it's Addie back at you with another voicemail. I just wanted to ask what your opinion was on the Bad Batch Season 2 trailer that just dropped. Me, personally, I loved it. I loved it a lot. I watched it like a billion times over, still watch it. I love Omega's outfit and like just the like different colors of the armor and whatnot is just awesome. I actually have been thinking of cosplaying her at ICC. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Drew, correct me if I'm wrong. ICCC Con, because I've been trying to convince my parents to take me for my birthday next year. Anyway, I hope you have an awesome day and may the force be with you. Bye.
Well, Eddie, to answer your question, tune in on Sunday night to the live stream, and we will have a full breakdown of the Bad Batch trailer.
Yes. You could also go watch my reaction video to the trailer.
I'm sure she already has.
On
She's
YouTube.
always quick to comment on our videos and stuff. So
that's true. I think she already did. But yeah, that was probably my reaction. But yes, it's ICCC Con.
And she might be going. So
yeah, if you're going,
we got to figure out what we're gonna do. Because
make sure you come say hi to me for sure. I don't know about your mind, but I'll be there.
We got to figure that out.
Yes.
Why can't it? Why does it have to be in that? Why can't it be in Minneapolis or Chicago or something? I don't want to go all the way to Nashville. It's a long way.
It is long, and it's expensive.
Yes.
But I'm excited. I'm gonna figure it out because I need to go again.
It's end of May. Like,
yes.
Memorial Weekend.
Memorial Weekend.
So.
See you there
if we go, we'll definitely meet up with you and your family, Eddie. So be cool to meet you.
And anyone else that goes, make sure you come say hi.
Talking to you, Will. You're like probably the closest.
You're only 8 hours away.
8 hours away.
It's kind of
all right.
Long.
But
I think it's 6.
Depends how fast you drive. So you can get there in like 3 if you go fast enough.
Unless you're Andrew and you take the wrong route and you add 2 hours to your time because you want to buy a tripod from Best Buy. But anyways, yes, keep going.
All right, next voice. That was your first one, so let's listen to voicemail number 2.
Hey, Empire Radio, it's Addie back at you with another voicemail. Here's my question for the week. What is your favorite holiday dessert? Me personally is ginger snap cookies, but like the homemade kind. My mom uses this recipe, but since my dad is allergic to cinnamon, we use allspice and chili powder instead of cinnamon, and it's so good. Anyway, let me know, and may the force be with you, and have an awesome day, and may the force be with you. Bye.
All right. First of all, it's very tragic that your dad is allergic to cinnamon.
People allergic to cinnamon?
Well, you can be allergic to anything technically, but that's very sad because cinnamon is one of my favorite things, and my signature dish is my banana bread, which has cinnamon in it. So then he could never have the best thing
GG.
that I can make.
But you
in
could
this way.
add
chili
whatever.
powder and
Yeah,
allspice.
Yeah.
That'd be weird.
Would it be?
But
try it. Maybe it slaps.
maybe. I don't know. But her question is, what is our favorite holiday dessert? So that would include cookies. Are cookies considered a dessert? Because she says ginger snaps, which is a
Yeah, that's a yes,
cookie.
of course.
Um,
It's a dessert. Cookies are definitely a dessert.
I don't know. I thought cookies were more of a snack.
That's because you ate too much of them. Technically, they're a dessert.
I don't know. I might have to Google that one. I'll have to.
Okay. What?
I'll-
Cookies with
I'll-
ice cream in the middle? Ice cream sandwich?
Okay, if
That's
it
a
has,
dessert.
if you have ice cream with it, then yes, that could be a dessert. But just some chocolate chip cookies or something, or any kind of
That's
cookie.
a dessert.
I don't know. I'll take Gordon Ramsay after this and see what he has to say.
Oh, yeah, tell him I said hi too.
All right. But if I had to go with a dessert, holiday dessert, it would probably be my Aunt Karen's apple crisp that she makes at Christmas.
Oh, apple crisps.
Well, no, it's not even like an apple crisp. It's like it's called apple slices. So it's like it has like a thin like pie crust on the bottom, kind of, and then it has like a sugar glaze on top with like another more pie crust. I don't know. It's thinly sliced apples with cinnamon in it, like so. It's I don't know, it's kind of like an apple pie, but it's more thinly sliced, and it's more like an apple crisp pie. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but
I'm so confused.
It
More
is
confused than Thrawn books.
right, but it's apple slices.
Sounds
It's
good, though.
it's very good. Every year, I always like when we eat it at the end. It's like the only reason I came to Christmas this year was so I could have an apple slice. But I don't think we're having like Christmas my mom's side this year, so like I don't know if I'm gonna get it this year. So I'm sad. So
Wait, really? You don't?
because the only time I would eat it was Christmas
Just
Day.
call her up, be like, "Yo, can I get that?
Get that slice.
Can I get that slice?"
If I asked her,
probably would do it.
She would probably make me a whole pan just for me.
She probably would.
But Drew, what would be your favorite holiday dessert?
Probably my mom's pumpkin pie.
I knew you were gonna say pumpkin pie.
Really?
I just felt it coming. Like you were gonna go with a pumpkin pie.
Yeah, I made Stephanie learn it over Thanksgiving. My mom like taught her how to make it, so I'm hoping she makes it for Christmas Day, but we'll see.
And if it's not good, what are you gonna say? Like if you lie to your wife and say, "Oh yeah, it's great," it's always gonna be terrible for the rest of your life.
Truth.
So,
but see,
would you rather hurt Stephanie's feelings once?
Yes.
Or would you suffer your whole life eating terrible pumpkin pie?
I'll be a good critic. You get forced. Like, do you want 5 stars? This is not 5-star level. You know, like when Miles starts like drawing pictures and he wants it to be on the fridge, but like, bro, this stick figure is not fridge worthy. You gotta do a little bit more.
But his first stick figure,
sure,
can go.
Yeah.
But if he's like 15 and he's still drawing the same stick figure,
like if that stick figure doesn't get eyeballs,
bro, like at least draw some like humps on his arms for like muscles, like
a couple eyeballs, maybe a nose, but yeah, no. But yeah, so no, but Stephanie's really good at if it's on like exactly. She's one of those people that she follows her recipe to the T. Like,
well, when it comes to baking, you kind of have to do that.
Yes, but she's with it with everything. Like today, she was like making like a bake, like it's like sushi bake, and her friend gave her the recipe. He's like, "Oh yeah, you kind of just estimate," and she was like stressing out. I was like, "Girl, it's not that hard. Like, just estimate," because she's like that particular when it comes to cooking, which is why I mostly do all the cooking. But yeah, so like if it's to the T, it's written out, which my mom has it from like my grandma. So I think she'll be able to do it.
All
I
right.
have faith.
Cool. All right. Well, that's the last question from Eddie, but we have one more question from Will. So let's take a question from that.
Hey, Empire Radio. Will here. I was curious. Is there going to be another round of movie rankings or even a show ranking? Well, you might want to wait on the show because Bad Batch is coming. What about score rankings? We got the new Andor theme out. Yeah, I'm just curious on if that will be coming in the future. I'd love to hear it.
All right. Thank you for that question. So, reevaluating some of our rank videos or episodes. So, like movie rankings, we haven't done a show ranking. Up
I
with
think
more.
maybe after Ahsoka, we could do a show ranking.
Could.
But it's hard with the show because they keep coming.
Yeah, they keep coming. Like even after Ahsoka, there's going to be Skeleton Crew, like
true,
and an Acolyte, and it's going to be hard to do ranking. Like someday we'll have to do a show ranking, like top 5 shows where we combine animated and live action all in one. It'll be hard. I think I could probably go with my top 3 right now. I could probably say what it is, but I don't know. But it's too early to tell. There's too many shows coming.
Yeah, you got to figure out when to stop.
Right.
Wherever the next show break is. Honestly, we should have done it before Andor because that was a longer gap, wasn't it? Book of Boba.
No. We had Obi-Wan in there.
I guess it.
Now we're gonna be going like
we're gonna go
every
next year.
There's only gonna be like 2 months between shows now, and so hopefully we'll get to a point where it's like the movies where they stop making movies and there's just a break. So it'd be nice if, even though I don't care about ever getting movies again, it'd be cool if they stopped doing shows and they did
a movie, dude.
Then they did movies every year for like 3-4 years.
I don't. Okay, so like we were talking before the stream, like before, I mean, not before the stream, but before the podcast recording. So if you guys want to go follow us on twitch.tv/Empire Radio, you guys can get some of these conversations. But we're talking about the new what's that movie that's coming out this weekend? Avatar. We were talking about the new Avatar, and Jeremiah's gonna go see it. And like I miss going to the theater to watch an opening of a Star Wars film. Like I really miss that. Like it's been a while. Like I really want that feel of being in the movie theater on the edge of my seat, waiting to see if it's gonna be good or bad. Like I recently watched like Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
And the episode when episode 7 came out.
I remember that episode, yeah.
And like they invited what's his name from Star Trek, and he like came out and was wearing his Spock uniform or whatever, and he was talking about, he's like, Star Wars fans are too serious. Like they're gonna act like if it's bad, it's gonna be the end of the world, and then like in the middle of him like complaining about Star Wars fans, they're like, wait, did you hear something? Is it bad? Oh, it's gonna be the end of the world. Like it was so funny, like it was so real. And I was like, watch this the other day with Steph, and she was like, dude, that's so you. I'm like, yeah. Yeah. So I just want that feeling again for some reason.
Yeah, there's always that hype. There's like a new show comes out, like it's exciting, but the hype around a movie is different. And going to the theater, like everyone's like before, like this in the lobby, like you can just feel the buzz.
Oh yeah, excitement. Dude, you're in line in the lobby waiting to go opening night. Like
people all in their cosplays and
dude, if they did opening night reviews of like if they gave like AMC like the rights to play like the first 2 episodes of the show or whatever when it comes out.
Oh yeah, like
if they did like an opening,
kind of like Lucy got to see the first 2 episodes or whatever of Obi-Wan like at
with
Star Wars Celebration. Like
that's pretty dope. But something like that, they did that like they signed a contract with the movie theater company and they were able to do that, like a preview showing, like that'd
Dude,
be so
it
cool.
has to be at Marcus. Marcus is the best.
I don't care what it is. I just want to go. Like you and me would like we would vlog it. We would go and then do a podcast like right after together. Like I don't know. That would be. I can't wait for the next movie just for those experiences.
But there's nothing on the docket for a movie, so
Yeah, I'm depressed about that.
like
stuff.
even if they announced a movie
It's gonna
this
take, like,
month,
2 years.
it would be like another 2 years. Like we'll probably we'll probably have a new president by the time
Oh, 100%.
the next.
I mean,
Well, unless Biden gets reelected, but
Mm.
that guy's knocking on the grave, dude. I don't know how long he's gonna last.
Chill.
All right. Well, thank you, Will, for that question. We're knocking on 3 hours tonight, so this is one of our longer things for a while.
Oh.
So let's go over some social media stuff and get out of here. So if you go in your description below, wherever you're listening, there is a links.co/Empire Radio link to our landing page with everything that if you want to get connected with us, Instagram, Facebook, the Discord invite link. Click on that, join a Discord. We also have our fan email, empireradiofans@gmail. If you want to email us anything, you can go email us there. We check that every day. There's a link to send a voicemail. If you've never sent in a voicemail, please send us a voicemail. It's always exciting. And we are also part of the needlesslynerdy.com podcast network. So if you want to get connected with some other nerdy podcasts, go check that out. Our YouTube link is there as well. And there's our Twitch too. Also we live stream every episode. So go do that and you can interact with us in the chat because Will and Yellow Snow seem to be dominating the chat.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting when you
awesome.
can get like 10 people in the chat just talking about stuff. And
True.
so go check that out.
And if you guys are normally in the chat and you haven't been for a while due to not caught up on Andor or something, before Bad Batch, and like there's only like 2 episodes left or 2 podcast recordings before then. So come back. If you're listening to this real quick, come back and
and if you're if we simply plan on doing that, ask us anything in a couple of weeks after Christmas, like it'd be cool to have an active chat for that because that's just going to be us hanging out and having fun. And
that's a end of the year kind of podcast episode too.
So come join that.
Bring your popcorn.
Your Mantel mix.
Oh,
because Bad
or
Batch
your cereal,
blue cereal, or purple cereal, or whatever it was. But yes, so that's everything, right, Drew? Anything else you want to talk about?
It. Nope.
All right,
that's it. We'll see you guys Sunday
for the Bad Batch trailer breakdown. So yes, you have been listening to another Thrawn-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I am Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.